So growing up in upstate New York, we got a ton of snow in the winter. And I'm not talking 6 inches, I'm not talking 8 inches. I'm talking we would get 2-foot snowstorms, blizzards, if you will. And if they happened during the week and we were in school, guess what? We probably got a snow day. And that's what this podcast is all about today. We're talking all about snow days, our experience with them growing up. Lou and I are going to be talking about the great amount of fun they really were. Especially when we were younger. As we got older and we had to shovel snow, not so fun. But as a kid, snow days were a blessing from the gods. And if you're listening to this and you grew up in the South, like Florida or the Southeast, you probably don't appreciate how much fun snow days were. Maybe you got flood days or hurricane days, and those were great. But snow days, there was something special about them. So kick back, relax, and enjoy our conversation about snow days on Generation S.
What is it?
It's time to go back. Welcome.
Welcome back to another episode of Generation S. I'm Dan Kemp, joined by my very frequently contributing co-host, Lou Carnevale.
It's me. That's all I have. I have no snappy line. It's me.
It's just you. Yeah.
It's me.
So listen, today we're talking about snow days, as you may have alluded to if you listen to the intro of this episode. And it's funny, Lou, we're recording this December 8th. I'll just go ahead and we'll give you a peek behind the curtain. This is going to be going out next week, but it's December 8th. You would think in December, starting to cool down out there, but no. I'm looking at my watch for the weather, and it is 65 degrees right now at 8:30 at night.
It was 57 degrees yesterday.
Like during the day or at night?
During the day.
Okay. So like during the day, it was 73 today.
Yeah. It's been very warm here also.
Yeah, like weirdly warm. Now, we had a cold snap a few weeks back, and so that really felt like winter, and then now we've got this weird, like, I don't know, fall's maybe still not over yet kind of vibe, and I'm not a fan. Like, it's Christmas time. I love this time of year normally, but I want it to be cold. This is the only time of the year where I really want it to be cold. Once Christmas is over, like, screw it. I want warm weather again. But now, this is when I want cold weather.
I want cold weather on December 24th. And December 25th, and an inch of snow on each day, and then back to warm weather.
And that's it. Okay.
That's it.
So
that's all I want.
Two days. You don't even want the lead up to Christmas for the entire month to be cold.
No. I mean, if I really want to stretch it, I'll go December 23rd to January 2nd.
All right. That's not bad.
Because I watched the NHL outdoor game.
Oh, yeah.
So I want it to be cold while I'm watching that.
Now, do they always play in the same venue for that?
No, they always change. It's always like the same 10 teams kind of involved in it, but They change venues. This year, in 2023, it's going to be in Boston at Fenway with the Bruins and the Penguins.
So question, I guess if they're playing in the Northeast, this probably is never going to be a concern, but what if it is really warm and it's outdoors? What do they do?
They could do it. They've had some outdoor games on the West Coast.
So how do they do that with the ice and everything like that?
It's just the freezing. It's the type of freezing they're able to do. I don't know.
Okay.
But they're able to do it.
Well, and I guess that's true because they have an ice skating rink that they almost like a pop-up rink that they put in a parking lot at a beer brewery in my town. And so I've taken the kids there, and it's 70 degrees outside, but the ice is frozen. So I guess that's true. If they're keeping the ice cool, that's really all that matters.
Yes, and if your local brewery can do it, imagine what the NHL can do.
That's true. They got a few more bucks, I would think.
I would assume so. Now, I've gone to 2 outdoor games, both in New York, where both were frigid.
Could you still enjoy the game, though, or was it just too much?
No, the first one was at Yankee Stadium. It was Rangers versus Islanders, which is very interesting, but imagine 50,000 Rangers and Islander fans.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting each other. It was interesting. It was cold.
Yeah.
We had seats right behind the dugout, so we were eye level with the rink, which is terrible because all you saw was their torsos and up. You didn't actually see the puck.
That's the thing. I mean, if you want good seats at a hockey game, because we have a minor league team here in Atlanta, it's the higher up seats, almost. I mean, we could sit basically what's considered nosebleeds and actually have a very good view of what's going on for the game.
Yes, but this is different because we were eye level with it. Even if you're at a regular hockey game, you're still slightly above the rink.
That's
we
true.
are literally eye level with it. Like, this is terrible. Like,
Yeah.
we can see them skate, but I don't know who has the puck. So essentially, I paid a lot of money to be very cold and watch the upper torsos of men and then watch the big screen, which was not very exciting. And then I said, I'm never doing this again. That was a what they call a stadium series game, not a Winter Classic. And then a couple years later, they came back for the Winter Classic at Citi Field where the Mets play. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And it went to the Rangers versus Buffalo Sabres, and that was one of the worst cold streaks that New York City was experiencing. I was actually working in the city at the time, and it was very, very frigid. I'm talking, there was a stretch of like 4, 5, 6 days where it didn't even get in double digits as the high.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was very cold. It was really cold. Went to the game. They go, oh, we're going to sit up higher so we can see the puck. Well, yes, we can see the puck now, but now we're up higher and we're frigid.
It's windy. Yeah.
They had no coffee, no hot tea, no hot chocolate. They ran out of everything. I legitimately could not feel my feet during the game. It went to overtime. I go, please, just somebody score. I don't care. We just walked towards the train. The Rangers got a goal. Great. I just kept walking. Great. Good job. And did not feel my feet until about halfway home.
So, but you did stay for the whole game, though. I mean, that's
from
I got
a certain point of view, we did.
Well, yeah, you stayed.
We
you
were
could
in
hear
the arena.
goal. Yeah, you were in the venue and you stay. It's not like you left halfway through. Like,
No.
I'll put it this way: like, if we're at a baseball game, like let's say I'm going to see the Atlanta Braves, and the Braves are getting destroyed, like 10-0, or vice versa. Let's say the Braves are dominating 10-0. It's like the 5th inning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beating traffic. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm not staying for the whole game. Like. So, I mean, I'm saying give you props for sticking it out in cold weather for basically, we'll say 99.5% of that game.
Yeah, it's different because it's, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, once in a decade, let's say.
And that's true. Yeah, it's special. So you do want to you want to stick it out.
It's not even like a regular football. If I just went to a Jets or Giants game, it's like, okay, it's frigid, or they're winning, or they're losing. Hey, Jets are winning this year. They got it out of the way early. That's different because I can always go back next year.
Yeah.
This is pretty much, this is probably 6-7 years ago. I went to the one at Citi Field, and they haven't been back since.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of cold weather, and we are, because that's what this episode is about, Lou, we're talking snow days today.
Mm-hmm. Not enough snow days when you're a kid.
No, and it's funny because I initially approached my wife about this. I said, Beth, do you want to do the Snow Days episode with me? And she was like, no. I said, what are you talking about? You're from New Hampshire. She goes, yeah, but I moved to Florida when I was like 7 or 8. So she doesn't really have memories of like a true snow day.
Yeah.
Because she lived in Florida, and then she lived in South Georgia, and then in, Metro Atlanta. And, if you got a snow day once every 2 years, that was a lot. And even then they would get like a dusting, and that was worthy of a snow day here, which is why I moved here, to be honest with you. I moved down south to get away from the snow. But as a kid, and let me preface this, as a like preteen where I was like maybe 10 or under, I loved snow days because I got off from school, I got to play in the snow, and I didn't have to shovel. Like, my dad would shovel the driveway for us because when we were, and honestly, I say that I was probably shoveling the driveway at 10. I think honestly probably 7 or 8 is when I wasn't having to shovel the driveway. They started me pretty early.
Yeah.
What about, because I know where you grew up, you didn't have as much of a walkway or whatever, but did you have to shovel ever? Was that your job?
Oh no, we had a walkway. We had a sidewalk. We had a walkway into the house. We had a garage you could fit 2 cars in, one in front of the other, and still have some space at the bottom.
Yeah.
We didn't have a snowblower, so it was get out and shovel.
Yeah, my dad always, and if he listens to this, Dad, I remember this. He would say to us, "I got 2 snowblowers."
Yeah,
or actually, I said, "Yeah." I got 3 snowblowers because it was me and my 2 brothers. I was like, "Dad, you got a snowblower in the garage. Why don't you use that?" He goes, "Well, because I got 3 perfectly healthy ones. Why risk breaking that one when I got you guys?"
There you go.
I said, "That's fair. All right." It's hard to argue with that. And I always said, when I grow up and I have my own house and my own kids, I'm gonna teach them to use a snowblower. And now I live in Georgia, so that's never gonna happen. So,
do you even have a shovel?
I do have a shovel. I have one shovel, and actually it was a gift given to me by a neighbor. Oh. We actually had a snowstorm one year, and by snowstorm, we probably got 8 inches. That was a big deal, though.
Well, that is a storm, though.
I mean, it was a snowstorm,
Yeah.
but like by New York standards, that would have been plowed out in about 15 minutes. We don't have I think there's like 6 plows for the entire city of Atlanta or something. It's something crazy. And so, everyone was shoveling themselves out. I didn't have a snow shovel, so I was using just like
Cardboard
a
box?
regular. No, no. I was using just like a regular, like a metal dirt shovel.
Yeah.
But I shoveled my neighbor. I have an elderly neighbor, and so I shoveled her out. And so as a thank you, she bought me like a legitimate like 2-handled snow shovel. You know what I'm talking about? With like you hold the top and then you hold the middle part, and you can push even more snow.
That's pretty intense.
So I've got like the Cadillac of snow shovels sitting in my garage, and honestly, I don't think I've used it since then, which was about 7 years ago.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So, what about you? Do you have a snow shovel?
I do. And I do have a
But
snow
you live in an
blower.
apartment. Do you need it?
I live, we do. It's like a townhouse more than I would say for the people that obviously don't know, it's more like a townhouse than like an apartment complex. So it's a townhouse more so than anything. And I do because when you get the small amounts, they're not going to come by and plow. The facility where I live comes by and takes care of everything. But I got to be honest, and I'm sure we're going to go into it, I feel like as I get older, I feel like I'm getting less and less snow.
Yeah.
Like per storm, per year.
There's scientific theories about that. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Less snow.
It's a whole thing. Well, yeah, I guess there's silver lining to everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, let's take ourselves back, 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago for some of us.
Ugh.
And, so here's how the snow day typically happened, and it wasn't on the day of that I started getting excited. It was typically the day before, right?
Yes.
So
chatter around the schoolyard.
Well, not even the schoolyard. It was more so like, my mom would have the news on while she was cooking dinner, right? And so, our local weatherman, it was, I think, Bob Kovacic back then.
He's still around.
Well, he just retired, actually, I heard.
Did he?
He did. He retired.
You know more than me. I don't watch the news.
Well, I'm friends with all the news anchors on Facebook because I used to work with them. So, but anyway, so, he would always, we've got a big storm coming, we're going to, and it was, when we say big, up north, and I think you'll agree with this, like a big storm is like 12 inches plus. That's where we're like, okay, it's coming.
There's 2 parts to New York. Metro New York.
Well, that's true. Where you grew up, you didn't get as much.
Yeah. Metro New York, you would say a storm is coming, and a storm is 6 inches or more.
Okay.
Upstate New York, in the capital region, a storm is, I would say now, probably 8 inches or more.
Okay.
And then in Buffalo, it's like, storm is at 2 feet.
Yeah, no, they'll get I always tell people I'm not from Buffalo. I'm from upstate New York, but there's more to upstate New York than Buffalo. Like I basically tell people if you just go straight north from New York City, I'm on the right.
Yeah,
it's it's.
Can I get on my soapbox for a moment about that? About New York geography?
Sure.
For a quick moment about not being close to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Stop shuffling off to Buffalo, because what grinds my gears is right outside of Albany, New York, which is the capital. So if you come out of Manhattan, like Dan said, you go north for 3 hours, you're in Albany. Not really difficult. What I dislike is I live by Albany. Well, how close are you to Buffalo? You must be close. They just got like 2 feet of snow. They literally did. They got like 4 feet of snow like a month ago. They had to cancel the Buffalo Bills game. I say playing 4 feet of snow would have been a great game.
Yeah.
You're close to
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
You'd think they would have a lot more covered stadiums in the Northeast, by the way, to allow for bad weather.
Especially in baseball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
End of the season, you're getting that nice wintry mix.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see Fenway with a roof.
No.
But I think all new ones should if and when they ever redo them.
Yeah.
So in Albany, New York, I'm nowhere near Buffalo, New York. Now I'm gonna go to my soapbox. I'm gonna ask you a question also about this.
Sure.
People downstate in Metro New York think anything over Westchester is upstate New York. Okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
But it's like Buffalo is nowhere near like Albany. It's like 4.5 hours west. I got bored the other night. Well, you're close to Buffalo. You must have a lot of Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres fans. Well, how about I'm technically closer to Philadelphia?
Drive time wise, yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, you are, yeah.
So I feel like New Yorkers, Metro New Yorkers, super ignorant about the state and the geography. Are they like that in Georgia?
About Georgia or about New York?
No, about Georgia in general. Do they not know their own state?
No, I mean, no one that I've met. I think anyone that I've met, like hell, even Beth, who, I mean, she's kind of lived all over the state, so she probably does know better than most. But no, if I basically equate like it's North Georgia, South Georgia, Metro Atlanta, and then you've got like West Georgia, which is like Savannah, and then we're pretty close to Alabama, so there's not really an East Georgia. We're kind of in it, like Northeast. So I don't necessarily know some cities, so I say like if I'm like Columbus, Georgia is South Georgia. Like I know that. I don't know how far south of Atlanta. I know it's south. I know it's not quite to Macon, but it's close. And Macon is like on your way to Florida, so I always drive through it, so I know that. I would say people that I've talked to understand Georgia geography, because Georgia's, I don't know, Georgia as a state is Georgia. In New York, you basically have New York City, which is kind of its own thing. And then you've got the rest of New York. So there's a big divide there. I will say, though, anyone down here, when I tell people down here that I'm from New York and I'm not from New York City, they automatically assume either Buffalo or Syracuse. Those are the only two cities that they know. You're from, I said upstate New York. It's, you're from Syracuse. Nope, not even close. Oh, must be Buffalo. Nope.
So, yeah, and when I moved up to the Albany region, I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
Wow, you're from the city. No, I'm from a suburb, a very large suburb, but I am not from the city.
Yeah.
But to go back to the original point of this, I'm off my soapbox now, by the way. I stepped down.
Okay.
New York, I feel like it's broken down into 3 parts. You have the Metro New York, which gets the least amount of snow.
Yep.
Then the capital region, which is Albany, Saratoga, Racetrack, which probably gets the middle amount of snow, and then the Buffalo section, which gets absolutely hammered.
Well, and then you've still got even further north where I lived, which was about an hour north of Albany. We always would get a little bit more snow than like the capital region.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're technically the North Country. So, but anyway, all that to say, the day before we're watching the news, at dinner time, and they would hype up this big blizzard or whatever, 12 inches in the first 2 hours or 3 hours. And
massive
so that was a big deal. So on those days, we had a pretty good idea that school was going to be canceled the next day, like to the point where my mom would be like, don't set your alarm. I'll wake you up if there's school.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So now, but there were days where we didn't know if it was going to be canceled or not, because it was like a tweener. So maybe we'd only be getting 8 to 10 inches. But if it was like wet enough, it would be too slippery for the cars to drive. So even 8 to 10 inches, if it's wet, is still pretty unsafe.
8 to 10 inches in Long Island, like, forget it. Stay up all night. Not even close. No chance.
So those are really the 2 scenarios, either, a very likely snow day, or you're probably going to have a snow day. Like those are kind of the 2 that we're going to talk about, I guess, as far as this goes. And so, I would go to bed, and then I would get up the next day and
open up that window.
That's right, man. So, but I would look out the window to see, okay, is it snowing actively? Is it really white? Yes. Okay. Straight to the kitchen. Let's turn on the TV. We were watching the news. And I'm sure you had this down there. This was not like a New York thing, because I was actually, I had posed this question on Facebook before we started recording to say, hey, what were some of your traditions of snow days? I want to get some, some input for the show. And a majority of people, and not even people just in our age group, people older than us, as well, would say we would put on the radio, or more, like we did, they would put on the news, the TV, and they would show all the schools in alphabetical order on the bottom of like, which was closed. They would actually have some that were open. Like they would say open, almost to like rub it in those schools' faces. Like, nah, we're open. Ha, suck it. But I mean, we never had that, thank God. But, I went to Fort Anne Central School. That's the name of the school I went to. So it was in kind of the middle of the alphabet. Well, close to the middle of the alphabet. So we didn't necessarily see it right away. And then there was, of course, that whole thing where like if you missed it, like if you're not paying attention and all of a sudden they're looking at Glens Falls and Galway, you're like, damn it, I missed F's. Okay, and you got to wait for it to go all the way back around to the F's again to see if you guys are open. Was that like same thing for you guys? Like, because you were at a private school, did they still announce them? Or
yeah, they were still on the TV. The local news would have it on the bottom line scrolling. Another thing is, man, showing our age, this is before you had text messaging, before you had internet, or internet was very primitive.
Yeah, they weren't posting school closings online.
We used to have what they called the Mothers Club of volunteer moms.
Okay.
AKA stay-at-home moms. Nothing wrong with them, just what they were.
No, yeah.
And they would volunteer for things. They would be the ones that would help out around the school. And if you're sleeping and you know it's a potential snow day and that phone rings.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be at school at, what time do you get at school? 9, I think?
It was 8. I mean, for us, at
really?
least.
Maybe, I don't know.
Bus would pick us up. We'd walk down to the bus stop, 7:45. The bus would pick us up at about 7:50. And then we were at school by 8.
I can't even remember. But let's say it's a half hour before I'm usually getting up and I hear that phone ring and you're kind of asleep, but you're kind of awake because you're waiting for it. And you hear that phone ring, you're like, yes.
There it is.
Yes, and back to sleep.
Well, I was going to say, so do you go back to sleep or do you get up and say, okay, I'm going to have fun at home. I'm going to start my day, with fun.
Like, back to sleep a little bit and then up for fun.
Because I never slept, even as a kid, I could never sleep late. So for me, it wasn't like I get to go to sleep in. It was I get to get up and I get to go, play Sega for a little bit. Or, and then if it gets a little lighter outside, we'll slap on the snow pants and go play outside. So that's what I was going to ask you. So you hear it's closed. What do you do next? You go back to bed, then you get up. And like, how different is your routine versus like a weekend?
Oh, you got energy. You got energy on a weekday. You got a balance in your step and a smile on your face. You're getting oatmeal. You're getting a warm meal because I guess mom mode comes in with. Yeah. It always would be my mom staying at home. Always.
Okay.
My mom worked, but on days like this, she had the capability of taking off.
Yep.
If it was in modern times, she would just work from home, I guess.
Yep.
And it was something warm to eat. And if we're talking about like middle school age, it was fun. Yeah, I was not plowing. I was not shoveling yet. It was just outside with the other kids, and it was football. Okay. It was hands down football. Because you can
tackle, right? Because there's snow. Or no.
In between, it wasn't like full on tackle, but it was more than two hand. It was more like push.
Okay.
Let's say that.
All right. Yeah.
You were
Two-hand push.
Yeah, and we would play in the front yard, and we would make little snowbanks along the edge of the concrete and the grass, so you knew not to like push somebody that far. But if you did, there was a little bit extra cushion to, soften the blow.
Well, and especially if the plows came by, that probably helped it with the drifts. The snow drifts.
Then we're going to go into King of the Mountain.
Oh well, yeah. Well, we'll get to that because we got stuff like that. So let's say you got 8 inches though. Were you playing football in 8 inches where it's up to your shins and like
no?
Knees?
If it was 8 inches, we didn't go outside. You stayed inside and
Oh, you didn't do anything outside if it was
no 8 inches.
Really?
8 inches was a lot.
I know it was the best.
You didn't do anything at 8 inches.
No.
I would say the perfect football weather for down there would maybe be 4 to 5.
And they would close schools for 4 to 5 inches?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See I'm learning this because again, where I'm from, like 4 to 5 inches, they'd plow the roads, and we get lucky if we got like a 2-hour delay, and then we'd be at school.
4 to 5 inches would get you because the schools also had certain amount of days that they could use without losing their funding.
That's true. Yep.
So especially if you were late in like February or beginning of March and you got 4 to 5 inches and you didn't use any yet, guess what?
Oh yeah, they'll
were
get
getting
snow
that.
day. Yeah.
You had used all your freebies and you're in February and it's 4 to 5 inches. Yeah, delayed open at 10.
Yep, and then just let the plows do their thing, because that's the thing. Even though you got less snow, you still had a pretty good plow. Because I know that we've talked about this. Like it's actually a pretty good living is to work as a snowplow driver.
Well, down there in Metro New York, your sanitation is your plow driver sometimes.
Oh, they do both.
They do both. Yeah, they like that sweet. What do they call it?
I get that overtime, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
white gold. They call it white gold because it's overtime.
It is. Yeah,
well,
it's nothing but overtime.
Because I have family that's in sanitation.
Yeah,
they get double time. Well, now I don't know back in the day, but now if you're in sanitation, you're off the clock. You get double time and a half the moment you pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Though if you're off the clock, you pick up that phone. Hey, listen, there's a storm coming. We're going to probably start plowing today at noon. Let's say I'm using random numbers.
Sure.
We'll start plowing at noon. Can you get into the depot at 10? And they're calling you at 9 a.m. Guess what? As soon as you say yes, you're on the clock.
Double time.
You drive double time and a half.
Oh, wow.
You go, might have been also because this guy was very senior, had a lot of seniority, but this is what he told me.
Yeah.
As soon as you get to the depot, you're just waiting around. You're playing cards, you're hanging out, you're playing poker, you're watching TV, and then you get to work. If nothing happens and they it's going to be a big storm, we need you to come in. Okay, great. Come in. You're waiting for the storm and it never really takes off. Guess what? You go home, you still get paid that overtime.
Oh, wow. That's
just in
awesome.
case. Like
just in case.
Yeah, if nothing happened. Oh, okay. Guess I'll go home now.
Ah, that's nice. That's beautiful.
Yep.
So going back to, the deep snow. So we would. So, I mean, we'd get, I remember one year we probably got, I think 20 inches. It was like a big deal. And that was insane. But 12 inches was not far off. Like if we got a foot of snow, we'd have to shovel it and then we would play in it. But it would be like, I mean, that was the best snow to go sledding in because you're not really scraping on the grass. We had a hill. If you remember my backyard, because you've been to my house growing up, we have a pretty steep hill along the side of the house. And so we would always go sledding down that hill. Right. And so the deeper the snow, the easier it was to sit on top of it with our saucer sled or whatever we were using to go down the hill. And actually we went further too, because that means you weren't hitting any kind of like tall grass, because we were there was a big like field behind us. But if there was a lot of snow, that field was kind of packed down. You go really far.
Oh, wow.
With the deeper. So it was awesome. But no, what I really love about the deep snow is you kind of talked about it as well, the king of the mountain. Now, I didn't really I had my brothers, but like where I lived, I mean, not a lot of kids around, the neighbors are kind of spread out. And so it was just us. But what we would do, and we did this at school too. So when we would go out for recess and in our snow gear at school, is we would do like the tunnels under the snow drifts.
Okay.
And so whenever they would plow, they would. We actually had a neighbor across the street who had a truck with his own plow on it. He would plow our driveway, and it would make a big pile at the front of the yard. So like tall enough to where you could stand on it, and it was like really densely packed. But it was perfect for digging tunnels from one side to the other. So we always did. You guys do that? Did you dig snow tunnels? You never dug snow tunnels?
No, we would do King of the Mountain at the park after school. Now this is probably late middle school. This is in your teens. You go to the park and play football, and then if there was a mountain, if it was plowed the right way, and the plow actually put the snow towards where the grass was, King of the Mountain then would take place.
Okay, all right. So you never dug tunnels though?
No,
that was like even Beth remembers digging tunnels like when she was 7.
But where was she living?
This is New Hampshire. I mean, so she got a lot of snow.
She got more snow, probably.
She did, and that's the thing, too, because it was so good, especially if it was at school, and you would, like, over the course of, like, multiple days of recess, you would work on the same tunnel, so you almost felt like you were, like digging at China, like, every day, like, all right, cool, like, it's not going anywhere, because it's not going to melt, right? So every day at recess, you go out there and you dig out a little bit more, and then eventually you'd break through to the other side. All of a sudden, you had this really cool tunnel that really didn't do anything, but, hey, you finished it. It was a tunnel. And then you'd have the dickhead 6th grader that was 2 years older than you that would like jump on it from the top and collapse it, and you hope to God you weren't inside when it did, because then
jeez, that's
no, it happened.
Intense.
This is an actual true story. It happened to me at recess. I was in 4th grade. I was inside the tunnel, and some 6th grader like jumped on it from the top, and it just collapsed on top of me. And I mean, I got out. It was fine, but it was unpleasant.
Yeah, we weren't at recess. It was not too much snow activity because, again, we definitely got less. And at recess, the school would put the snow in the corners, so you weren't really able to go do some shenanigans on it. But in the park, it was all fair game.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Actually, we did a lot of our backyard wrestling in the wintertime in the snow because you could take some pretty significant bumps in the snow, and if it was fine,
I don't know if we ever did.
You never wrestled in the snow?
Well, I mean, we did, but we also did like semi-organized backyard wrestling. But when we were kind of, having a crew of guys, and the normal guys would go out and do their thing at the park, same park.
Yeah.
Pine Park, I think it was called. And we didn't, I don't think we did. Or I'm just getting old and I can't remember anymore. But it was definitely football. Definitely King of the Mountain. Definitely just a good old-fashioned snowball fight.
Yeah. So let me ask you, when it comes from an attire standpoint, because I don't know if it's a big debate, maybe it's just in my head, but when it comes to like what you're wearing out in the snow suit versus just the snow pants and jacket combo. I mean, where do you fall on that spectrum as far as what you had?
What I had?
Yeah.
What I had was a big jacket, boots, and jeans.
You didn't even have snow pants.
No, because we're Islanders. We're Islanders, and you got snow, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to go out and play. It's a lot of snow. Yeah, screw that. I'm going to stay inside. That's how we were, though.
Well, that's true. I guess and that's again. I'm glad we're having this conversation because for me, man, it was snow. Actually, I had a snowsuit for a while.
Yep.
But then I outgrew it, of course, and then they stopped making snowsuits that weren't insanely expensive for kids that were a bit older, and so went back to the snow pants and jacket. But I didn't like that because let's say I'm wrestling in the snow, because I used to do that. You take a vertical suplex and you're like upside down, and your jacket rolls down, like your gut's hanging out in the elements, right? So I'm taking a bump on a pile of snow, and I'm rolling down the hill, and the snow is just rolling up in there, getting in my nether bits. And it's so cold.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my point being, a snowsuit was better for that. I mean, but again, it's you can't really. They didn't have those for older kids unless you were like going on an actual Arctic expedition.
Well, now they got everything for everybody. You can go and get grown up onesie pajamas with a butt flap.
Several. I don't have the butt flap ones.
You don't have the butt flap.
No, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've thought about this actually, and I'll tell you why. I was watching Back to the Future 3 the other day. It's one of my favorite movie trilogy. We have to do an episode on Back to the Future, by the way. But anyway, so he's wearing, like, he's back in the old West, Marty McFly, and he stands up and he's like, he just wakes up and he's wearing like the old fashioned like long underwear onesie pajamas, and like it's like unbuttoned, so you see kind of a bit of his like upper ass cheek or whatever. But anyway, the point being is that's a really useful flap to have.
Well, did you ever see the Family Guy clip of it?
No.
He gets the butt flap because this is great. I never had to decide between going to the bathroom and being warm. I'm keeping it clean. But yeah, because he's very happy about having the butt flap.
It's true, though. It's so true because, I mean...
But why? It's so warm by you. What do you have to worry about?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, it gets cold. I mean, we'll have nights
30?
where it gets in... No, I mean, it'll get in the teens overnight.
Really? Like in February?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like in the deep darkness of winter, so like late January, well, most of January.
And that's why you want me to come visit in February? No, I don't want to come when it's 13 degrees.
You told me that the best time for you to come visit is February.
That's because of work, not because of what I enjoy.
Well, you come visit whenever you want to.
I think probably
it's
with
still,
your
it's
weather.
still warmer than what you're used to.
Yes, but your weather is probably best for me in like May.
I mean,
what is it like? Probably
summer.
Like 80?
Yeah, I'd get up to 80, probably high 70s.
That's perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, so in February, we'll get like a high of 25, and that's cold. That's probably like the coldest we'll usually get is like highs in the mid-20s.
Okay.
It doesn't last long. That's like a cold snap. I'd say probably realistically like high 30s, low 40s is what we're mostly seeing in the winter. So that's, I mean, we don't get a lot of snow. We usually get it every couple of years. So that's why, and my kids love it too, because like they almost forget the last time it happens when it happens again.
That's
like,
cool.
There's pictures of it, like there's pictures of them playing in the snow, but they don't really remember it. And so the last time was actually right before COVID. It was February 2020. We got a big snowstorm that we all played out in the front yard, and it was a lot of fun.
That was actually right after I saw you. No, right before I saw you, and then you texted me like 2 weeks later because I saw you in February 2020. I came down for work.
That's right, yeah.
And then you said, "Oh, you just missed a snowstorm." Like, thank God.
That's right. Yes, it was, and there was a big snowstorm, and it was actually on a weekend, so there wasn't any work cancellations or whatever. But it was just fun. We got to go outside.
Another thing that angers you as a kid.
Yeah,
is yes, you don't mind snow, but when you get that snowstorm Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday morning,
wasting perfectly good weekend time.
Yes, I gotta go out and do chores.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, So here we go. Let's talk about. Oh, well, one more thing too, as far as like the outdoor activities. And I feel like I probably know the answer to this because of the lack of snow activities you did. But did you ever build like a snow fort?
Not a snow fort. I did build a snowman.
Okay,
I did go sledding. Not at my house though, because I didn't have any hills.
I was gonna say, is there any hill? There's no hills on Long Island.
No, we're called Flatlanders for a reason.
So where did you go sledding?
You had some small hills at the park, but nothing.
Some inclines.
No, well, again, as a kid, like that's huge. Now it probably is an incline if I go there.
You're probably not even breaking a sweat walking up it.
Yeah.
So we had actually on that note, we had a I lived in like farm country, obviously. You remember from where I lived.
Yeah.
And it was very hilly. And there was a neighbor that had a lot of land. It was a farmer and a lot of hilly land. And
the guy across the street?
No. This was probably a couple miles down the road. It was the Goodman Farm, it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a lot of land where, I mean, it was just hills. And it was in the summertime, I guess it was where they would graze, the animals would graze or whatever. But he would take, they would have their tractor, and then they would have, like, you could go tubing. You could bring a tube and you could tube down the hill, and then he would take the tractor and you would basically hitch onto the tractor and he'd pull you back up. So you're not walking up the hill by yourself, because that is a legitimate, like, steep hill to walk up.
Well, I did do snow tubing for the first time last year.
Oh, you did?
I did, yes.
How did you like it?
I liked it, and I wore athletic pants.
Okay.
I wore 2 layers of athletic pants and my winter jacket, my winter hat, and I was very comfortable. My boots. Yeah. It was great because you would go down, you walk a little bit, and then you get on the little incline and take you right
back up.
And you do the same thing over and over again. And when the guy's not looking, you go backwards. Yeah, still that guy.
We have a place near us called Stone Mountain, Georgia. It's pretty well known, actually, but it.
I trust you. It's probably good.
No, it's So I mean, it is. It's a giant mountain. It's just a giant rock. The mountain itself is nothing special except for the big carving of the old Southern people that are on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, but anyway, in the wintertime, they haven't done this since COVID, unfortunately. So I don't know if they're going to do it again. But they had what was called Snow Mountain, where they would have tubing and they would make the snow. Like, they would actually make snow for this mountain to tube down. And it was like 70 degrees outside and you're tubing in the snow. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. Now, they also had a place where you could play with the kids, like the kids could play in the snow that was made. The problem with that, though, is that the warm weather would melt it down, but not enough to go away, just enough to make it hard and freeze over.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to walk around in the snow and the kids are playing and they're just walking on top of ice. And like, not just ice, but like
chunky
bumpy,
ice.
Chunky, bumpy ice, because it was snow at one point. So like, they're trying to like pick up and throw snowballs, and it's like picking up ice chips from the hotel. Like, there's really nothing to it. But the kids loved it, so it was fine.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Unrehearsed, but here we go. It's not even on our notes. Do you have any famous, I don't want to say famous, but any like snowstorm memories? Like, I remember this storm, or I remember this cancellation, anything specific? I do, if you want me to go first and give you an example.
Go first, because there's a couple that I'm thinking about, but I'm going to try to see if I can remember like dates.
I remember years. 2. One was in high school. I can't give you the exact dates. It was one of those instances of you were looking at the news the night before, and very uncharacteristically, the school canceled, the next day. So say if it was a Monday night, you got the notification, you got the phone call, school's canceled tomorrow. They say it's going to be X amount. And then the next day, nothing. Like a grazing. It's like, whoa, well, that stinks. Got the day off anyway.
I mean, you're off from school. Yeah.
1 week later, you get up and like 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Like, where did that come from? Are we canceled? Like, nope, go to school. Like, wait, what happened?
They must have run out of their freebies.
Maybe. I remember that because it was a 1 week span was crazy. So we're talking probably early 2000s, no pun intended.
Okay.
This was not in the early 2000s. This was right after Hurricane Sandy, or Superstorm Sandy, because I was living down there still. 1 week after Sandy happened, it snowed. I think everybody forgets that, and that was
because when did Sandy hit? Was that October? I can't remember.
It was October, because I was working for the Islanders, and oopsie, we're not having any games. And then a week later, it snowed. And I remember I was living with Dan Vorbeck, because I was in between places, and his dad was knocking on the door for us, because we were both living upstairs. And we're like, yeah, Jim, what's up? His dad's name is Jim. And he goes, get up, get your snow boots. It's like, he's just busting our chops. You look outside, go, holy crap, he's not. It's like 6 inches outside.
Oh, wow.
Right after a hurricane.
Yeah. Oh,
so those are my 2 examples of storms that stick out to me. Or in one case, didn't happen.
Right. So I'm trying. Honestly, I wish I could remember a specific storm as a kid, because we got them a lot. We usually got 1 or 2 snow days a year that were legitimately like, they shouldn't have. It's a good thing we didn't go on the roads. The one I remember, though, is actually from when we were in college together. I don't know if I feel like you know this story.
We were going to finals?
Nope, no, wasn't finals. I was working at the radio station.
Yes, I remember this.
It's Valentine's Day. And I remember this because my girlfriend at the time and I were hanging out at my house, and we were going to like do like a little Valentine's Day thing. And it started snowing really bad. And I was supposed to go in for my afternoon shift. I worked from 3. I was on the air from 3 to 7. And it started snowing that morning. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to work. So I call them at probably about noon. And I'm like, hey, listen, it's really bad out there. I'm like 20 miles away. I can't come in. We're going to, and I can't come in. Long story short, I hang up. They call me back and they say, you better come in or you're going to lose your job. And
I remember that.
And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. The roads, they hadn't even plowed the roads yet.
And
right?
did you have that little red car?
No, I was driving my light blue one at the time.
Okay.
I had traded in the old 92 Dodge Shadow for my 04 Hyundai
Oh, my
Accent.
God, that Shadow. There were some nights we were driving, some mornings we were driving from your place to the radio station. I'm just going to shut my eyes in this car.
It was a beaut. But anyway, no, it was my Hyundai Accent, which still wasn't designed for snow travel. And I literally, for I'd say 90% of that drive, I was driving on unplowed snow. And I think there probably was a foot.
But you also have to describe these roads you're driving on. These are not normal main streets.
I should. Yeah, you're right. These are. I mean, this was like rural upstate. So some long stretches of road, but it was hilly and it was windy.
No
at
lights.
Times. Well, it was daytime, so I didn't need the lights. That wasn't a big deal.
I'm talking about if you came home that night.
Oh yeah, there's no street lights. Like you have to have your own lights on and watch out for deer. But during the day, I'm driving to the station. I'm basically driving on top of the snow because my car is so small. It's not really doing anything to like get a grip on the road. And I get there, and immediately I get dressed down by the head of production, the guy that would like actually produce the commercials and stuff, and my boss, the program director. They both basically said like,
"Are you allowed to say names? Because I want to know."
I'm not gonna. I'll tell you off air. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not throwing anyone names under the bus.
I'm curious.
Here, they know who. If they're
names.
listening to this for some reason, they know who they are. But anyway, they basically said like, "How dare you call in?"
See, now this part I didn't know.
Oh yeah, no.
That you got undressed by them.
Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I cried. Like I was.
Was it the guy that broke the window?
No,
got the key. Wasn't him?
No, it wasn't him. It was a different guy.
Okay.
This was the guy that was like head of production.
Oh, okay.
I think you know. And then you remember my program director, my boss.
Yeah.
So and she's lovely. Like, listen, we're still friends. It's totally fine. But anyway, like they dressed me down. Like I was in tears. I was a 20-year-old guy in tears. I was very emotional because like I feel like I barely made it there alive. And it gets better though. So I packed up a bunch of food because I probably figured I wasn't going anywhere for a long time. And I start my shift, and I'd say halfway through my shift, the guy that was doing the country station afternoon shift across the hall came in and goes, "Dude, are you leaving?" I said, "No, I'm not leaving. I got to do the show." He said, "Well, we're all leaving." So like literally everybody left halfway through my shift because the weather was getting so bad.
Because you were low man on the totem pole.
I was low man. Well, I was low man on the totem pole. I had to stay through the shift, and I said, "Well, I'm not going anywhere." So long story short, I ended up sleeping in the studio on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I woke up the next day because my program director was also the morning drive host. So she rolls in at about 5 a.m. And she told me this afterwards. She's like, I felt so, like instantly she felt so bad. She saw my arm like hanging out into the hallway because I was sleeping on the floor. And that was back when I could sleep on the floor and not feel like I broke my back the next day when I woke up. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so she comes in and she like just apologizes. I'm so sorry I made you do that. And actually the production guy that dressed me down said, "Listen, I really shouldn't have yelled at you like that, but I'll tell you right now, you've earned your stripes. You're in the club."
Oh,
right?
Look at that.
You're one of us. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So, but anyway, the funny thing is the next day they're like, "Okay, well, you can voice track your show. That means you can record your lines beforehand," which, spoiler alert, a lot of radio stations do.
Yes. I was talking to the girl who was cutting my haircut last week, and I don't know how radio came up, and I told her all about the secrets of radio.
Oh, yeah.
Voice tracking, if they don't tell you the time or the weather updates. She's like, "What? No." I'm like, "Yes."
They might not even be in the same state.
Yeah,
I told
her that too. I told her about fake contests, and she's like, "No."
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, wow,
no,
did I just tell her somebody's not, legit around this time of the year?
I don't see myself ever getting back in radio again. And as much as I love being on the radio,
you're on internet radio now.
I guess this is kind of internet radio. But anyway, I'll tell you this. If I had a contest where I was running looking for the 7th caller for concert tickets, if I'm going through, and this is true, I would go through and I would see the phones light up. I would go through them. Your caller 1, try again, hang up. Caller 2, try again, hang up. And then I would go down the list, and there was only like 3 lines. So I'd have to keep going back down. If I get to caller 7 and I go, hello, whatever station it was, and they go, hi, did I win?
Yeah.
And I'm like, shoot, no, you're caller 6, try again. And then hang up. I wouldn't get a winner until I had somebody that was going to sound excited when I aired their.
So you would actually go all 7.
Radio.
See, I was the opposite. As soon as I got somebody, because I would hit the button, because I didn't have as many promotions as you did, because I was on the weekends.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I didn't have as many. I had the B-list items. You had like the concert tickets. I had like the T-shirt and CD combos.
Nice.
Or something like that. But as soon as I would hit it and I would go, name of the station, and they go, hi, and I win. I'm like, actually, you did, because you sound like you are not hungover. If I had it, did I win? Better luck next time, buddy. Next.
Yeah, sorry.
Wow.
And then of course we'd have to record the call. We wouldn't air the calls live.
No.
We would record it, and honestly, I would usually splice it down. It would be like a 2-minute call that I was having with them, and I would splice it down to about 30 seconds.
Yep.
Cut out all the nonsense.
Did you ever I had this once on the weekend. Did you ever have somebody not actually win? Like, I had to do one. I remember it was a trivia about Larry the Cable Guy.
Okay.
And nobody got the answer, and I forget. It was a very simple answer, but nobody would get it. So I called my girlfriend at the time. I go, please call in and just say this. She's like, but I don't want the tickets. I'm like, I just need something to put on the air. And I had her call in. Like, did I win? You did. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I just took the tickets and handed them back to the front desk.
No,
whoever wants them can have them.
I've given listeners answers to questions before. If I'm having trouble getting the right answer, I will. I'll either give them the answer straight up, or I would drop strong hints like, no, maybe you meant this singer rhymes with Burt Cocaine.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, you won. Wow, genius. And then that's what I would start recording the conversation.
Yeah.
So anyway,
this is a pull behind. We could have a whole episode about this. Didn't Fox have behind the curtain about magicians?
They did. Well, I feel like we just kind of did that for radio.
Oh no, there's more.
Oh, well, listen, this is if we do a radio episode,
that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's
pull back the curtain. But anyway, the whole point was I had to sleep in a radio station because it was snowing so bad, and they made me basically threaten to take my job if I didn't drive in and endanger myself. And then, because it couldn't get much worse, my car was just buried in frozen snow the next day. So I had to shovel myself out, which took 2 hours.
Were you on the
before
clock
I could
at
even
least?
drive home. I mean, I was salaried, so I was technically always on the clock.
Oh, really?
I mean, I say salaried. I was making $16,000 a year.
We were making nothing.
I was making $8.25 the equivalent. Now, granted, I was probably working 20 hours. Yeah.
I'm just saying, because I know that because when my mom was moving, I found one of the pay stubs.
Oh yeah, we were probably making the same amount of money.
I was making like $8.15, $8.20, something like that, like low $8. I'm like, geez.
Now, technically, I only worked about 20 hours a week, so I guess you could double it because I only worked half the time for that paycheck. Like, I would go in and do my shift from 3 to 7, and then that was it. I didn't go in early or anything like that. I probably should have. In hindsight, there was a lot of wasted opportunity that I could have taken advantage of to really hone my craft as a radio DJ that I didn't. I was just really excited to get, full-time pay for part-time hours. But I was also 19, so I was very immature. Anyway, so going back to snow for a minute here, because that's what this episode's about, right? You got 2 types of snow that you're working with if you're playing outside, right? You've got the powdery snow, which is basically just it's the snow you could pick up and throw, and it looks like dust. Then you've got my favorite kind of snow, which is it's kind of warm out today, so there's a little bit of humidity in the air, and the snow melts down a little bit. You got that packy snow that's the only way you're gonna build snowmen and snowballs and snow forts is with the packy snow. That was the best kind of snow.
I feel like I get the packy snow more upstate than I did downstate. I feel like the snow up here in upstate New York is more fluffy, and downstate is, no matter what, it's gonna hurt you if you get hit with it.
Yeah. So that was always it was going to be a really good snow day if it was packy snow, because then you're doing so much with it. You're making giant. We had a giant. I don't know if I ever showed you this picture in high school. We made a giant snowball in the middle of our yard. Maybe. And so I wanted to just roll it around the entire yard, me and my brothers, to see how big we could get this thing. So we did. We probably spent an hour rolling this thing, and it ended up being legit like 7 feet tall. Like, it wasn't like a 7 foot tall, perfectly round snowball. It was like a 7 foot tall, like triangle, or like a mountain.
See, now, folks, he says 7 foot high snowball mound, and he made fun of my 7 foot little mountain that was probably there. So it was probably 3.5. No, I'm kidding.
No, this was tall, man.
I swear.
But we got pictures. We called it Mount Snow Olympus. We like spray painted like colors all over it. We were very proud of it. But that was a good time. So, but no, I love the packy snow because you could do so much with it. Now, the unfortunate thing is that packy snow the next day would always turn to like ice chips, and you couldn't do anything with it. So it was like, well, that's that. At least you had that time with it. So that was kind of outside, right? And then let's talk inside. There's probably not much to say that we haven't already talked about in previous episodes, but we came inside, and this was like every time we had to take our snow clothes off, and we either put them straight in the dryer, or we had, in our house, we had like heating vents in the floor.
Me too. And
which is they don't have those down here. I've noticed everything is central air where the vents are up top. So, but heating vents in the floor because our furnace was in the basement. And so we had to put our clothes on the heating vents. So my mom would turn the heat on, and that's how our winter clothes would dry. If we wanted to go back outside and play, we had to dry them.
Yes, I would do that if my gloves got too wet outside. I would have 2 sets. So I'd take off one set, put them on the heater, so to speak, on the grounds.
Yeah.
Take the next set, go out and play, but then I needed to swap them out again. They would be dry. That's fun. I haven't thought about those vents in a long time.
Yeah, man. Well, that was so. Kind of on the flip side, they were also used as, I don't want to say punish. Well, they're punishment. If we mouthed off or whatever, like,
you had to stand on it.
Would say I had to kneel on it.
Whoa!
Like, we had to like kneel with our back up straight on the vent.
Wow,
now,
that's tough.
It was probably only for about 5 minutes. But as a kid, that felt like forever. It was either push-ups or kneeling on the vents. Those were our punishment choices.
And you took the kneeling on the vent?
I couldn't do push-ups to save my life back then. Now I'm pretty good at push-ups.
Yeah, I would take the
push-ups. Back then, no, I had to kneel on the vent. But I used to love it because we had them in our bathroom too, and so we would get out of the bathroom after like a shower or whatever, and like just stand on the vent.
That's nice.
Oh, it was great.
Nice.
Apparently they make like heated floors. I never knew about this. There's like, you can get like coils in your floor to make your floor heated.
My bosses have that.
Wow.
I don't know. I only heard it because they slipped up one time and said, "Oh, the heated floor has got malfunction." I go, "Excuse, you know what? Not even going to go there." Okay, glad we're making you enough money.
That's right, heated floors. But anyway,
heated driveways too. That's more of a downstate thing because it's very inconvenient to get out and use your snowblower and your 2 inches of snow. No, just turn it on, get those coils going, and boom, it's gone.
Well, that's good for ice, though, because the snowblower is not going to take care of ice.
That's true.
So if there is legitimate ice, I've always thought about this, like, why haven't they put like heated coils in the roads? Because it's very expensive. That's the answer, long and short of it. But that would be great because if you just had the coils heat up, you know what I mean?
My dream is to have that in my driveway.
The heated coils.
Yeah. It'd be great.
See, I don't have to worry about that now because I don't ever.
No, and you got kids too, so even if you do,
I'll put them to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll love it. I'll make them love it.
I'll make them love it.
So, all right. So
cook them lunch.
So we're back in the house here. I got my clothes on the vent. This is where Mom would make us hot chocolate, and usually it was the boil the milk and throw in some Hershey's syrup. That was our hot cocoa.
Really?
We didn't do like the powdered stuff. If we did, that was like fancy. It was Hershey's. That's how we always made chocolate milk too. It was Hershey's syrup in the milk.
For chocolate milk, yes, that's how we did it. But for hot chocolate, it was the powder.
Oh yeah. No,
and my lunch every time on snow days was tomato soup and grilled cheese. I don't know why.
Yes.
Why? Why was that?
Because that's the perfect cold weather food.
Oh, it was great.
Yes, we had it the other day here. Like, I'd love. I mean, I can make it like a boss.
Didn't even
like
snow.
I'm.
And you had it.
I know, but I just make some bomb ass grilled cheese, and my kids love it. So that's like one of the few things that like they ask me to make for them, and so I will. It's wonderful. And then Beth makes like an incredible tomato soup, so it's perfect. So all right, so we'd have that, and then we'd say, okay, well, I'm not going back outside right now. My clothes are still wet. What do we do? Well, we go downstairs and we put on the TV and play video.
Exactly,
games.
It's video games, and during that era, it was Super Nintendo.
Yep, Sega Genesis for me, but same thing. And we would play for probably a couple hours, and then we would either have to, like my mom, when we got older, we would still play video games, but my mom would say, "Okay, guys, it's time to go out and shovel the walkway again." Yeah. Because it was still snowing.
High school years, right?
It was probably high school, yep. And so, we'd have to go out and shovel again. Now, if we ever complained about the shoveling, which, we would be like, "Oh, come on, Mom." She would go, "Okay, well then I'll just go out there and shovel it myself."
Oh, the mom guilt.
And you'd be like, "You know how much your father loves to see me shovel?" And so, no, it's okay. We got it. So we would go out and shovel. And of course it would get dark really early then. So you couldn't really stay outside late and play. And so, but that was our snow days. And then we would have to, now you would get, so upset because then you would get the 2-hour delays instead of the snow days.
Nah.
And what do you do for that? Like, did you ever get those?
I did. When you get the delayed openings, I would just watch TV or play a video game. I would just kind of hang out. But I just have a pet peeve of waiting around. I just don't. Like, even when I was working, like, retail in college, like, oh, you have your shift from 2 to 10. Like, you get up at, like, 9 o'clock, and I feel like I'm just waiting to go to work. I was never a fan of that. Like, rather just get up and go.
Yeah, instead of just waiting for the inevitable.
Yep.
Because that's the thing is, so you have a, like, okay, this. I remember when I used to work, just going back to radio for a second. Nothing to do with snow, but when I used to work overnight shifts on the weekends for the station in Albany that I worked at, Fly 92, I would have to go in at midnight, right? But I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to bed. Right. So I guess I'll try to take a nap, but I'm not tired enough to take a nap right now. So basically, I just kind of sat around and waited for my shift, and like you couldn't do anything. It was I don't want to say paralyzing. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying, right? Where you don't really want to go in, and you don't really want to do anything where you're going to get invested in it, because then you're going to have to stop doing whatever you're doing to go to work. So that's kind of how you felt with the 2-hour delay at school.
Yes, exactly. I was not a fan of it, and it was kind of like a tease. Like, oh, you kind of get a day off.
Yeah. So. Oh man, well that's really. Any other thoughts on snow days? I'm actually impressed. We've been able to. Now there's been some tangents, mind you, but we've talked for almost an hour about snow.
Well,
days.
How about just snow in general? I have one thing I do like about it is when your Christmas lights are out. The snow, snow is on top of things. It look really nice.
I remember it was 2017. Yeah, because Beth was pregnant with our second child. We had a big snowstorm, and we had a snow day at work, and so Beth's sister and her husband had come over, and it was a big snowstorm. So it was actually a really fond memory where we just sat around watching Christmas movies. Like the kids were napping, or our one child was napping because it was the only one that was around at the time, and so we were just watching Christmas movies on the in the living room. But I remember going out that night. And walking around the neighborhood with my phone, and I was recording, and it was snowing outside, and the Christmas lights were on, and you felt like in like a winter village, and it was because that's such a rare thing where I live to be able to do that it was special. So I got to find that. I have the video somewhere. I'll see if I can put it up on the Facebook page or something, because it's really nice.
So funny, and I'll end with this. So when I moved up here, I had to tell my wife, like, listen, it's not that bad up here. It's a little bit more with the snow, and it is. It's like I said, Long Island, Metro New York gets a little bit less. I would say you probably get 25% more as opposed to other parts of New York State.
Yeah.
We move up, we settle into our place. The first snowstorm we have here is probably December-ish of 2020.
Okay.
And 2019. And they said it was going to be a big storm, but again, it was a little fear mongering. I feel like the weather channels and meteorologists do. They want you to watch. So they said it was going to be pretty strong storm. Like, okay, get up the next morning, and I look, and she's right behind me, and I just shut the blinds. She goes, "How is it?" I'm like, "Don't look." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Don't look." She's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Everything I told you was if you look out that window." Everything I told you was a lie. And she's just like, oh my, it was about 2 feet. But the beautiful part was that was it for the entire winter. That was it. We had that.
Oh, really?
We had one big storm. And that was, well, everything was, both of our offices were closed the day of, and then a half day the next day. Because it was that big.
Oh, wow.
But and it was early. Like I said, it was December. rest of December, January, February, into that little late snow you can get in March, not a drop. I go, ooh, that would be nice. Just, hey, listen, Mother Nature, whatever you got for my area right now, just dump it all at once. Give me all of it.
Yeah.
5 feet all at once. Instead of spreading it all out. Don't give me 5 1-foot storms. Give me it all at once. So we got that a couple years ago, but it was funny because I just remember that very, very vividly. I'm like, don't look. Please don't look outside.
So I will say one more thing on snow days and kids these days, especially since COVID. I don't really think they're going to have snow days anymore. I think, like, I know down here. Oh,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, they're going to just say, okay, well, then just sign in on your laptops. You're going to go virtual today. And they don't really have the privilege of having a snow day, which is a real shame because to me, snow days were, I mean, how many like TV shows and movies have there been like just about the concept of a snow day, right?
The Price is Right is what I used to watch on snow days.
Well, yeah. Well, that was the thing, too, because if it was during the school day, you didn't have all the cool shows on TV. You had to watch, like, I had Nick Jr. I was watching. I was a 12-year-old watching Blue's Clues because there was nothing else to watch, you know? And
you know what I would watch when I had my tomato soup and grilled cheese?
What's that?
I watched Bob Ross at 2:30 on PBS. And
Bob Ross.
And then by 2:50, I was out. Asleep.
Oh, you would take a nap.
Oh yeah, even now I watch Bob Ross and fall asleep. But back in the day, I was a trendsetter. I was way before. I was in the Bob Ross ASMR or whatever it's called, way before that term even came out. And yeah, be hyped up like teenager, like yeah, I got lots of energy. Let's go outside. I'll shovel, play some football, and Bob Ross is on. No, happy clouds and good night.
I remember in college. And this is before Bob Ross kind of got, like, because you look around, Bob Ross is, like, back to being, like, huge again. People love Bob Ross.
Bigger in death? Like Tupac?
Well, I guess. Yeah, there it is. But I remember in college, I found you, like, a YouTube playlist or something that had all these episodes. And I remember you were just, like, so excited. You're like, yes! This is how I'm going to fall asleep from now until the end of time.
Yes.
Because it is. Bob Ross is just, I love
He's
Bob
the
Ross.
best.
He is. He is the best.
And his snow paintings are very good, too.
He does very good snow paintings. I agree. You know what he does very impressively and almost effortlessly, and then we'll wrap up after this, but is his mountain peaks.
Oh, yes.
Like, he's just drawing what looks like a pointed gray, like a triangle that's just gray, and then he slaps on a little bit of titanium white, and all of a sudden, whatever he's doing with his brush, he's just kind of wiggling.
Yeah, it's
right?
not too much pressure. Sudden, that's it. You can't do too much pressure.
And all of a sudden, you're seeing like, oh, holy crap! There's snow peaks, and that looks like a real mountain. Like it just, and he makes it look so easy. Because I've tried painting like a quote unquote Bob Ross.
I was
going
to ask you if you have.
I have. It's not with oil painting. I've tried it with acrylic painting. It is not easy to do.
I bought the Bob Ross kit in college, and he goes, "See, now wasn't that easy?" I'm like, "No, this is very hard. What are you talking about?" He's like, "We're gonna make a mountain. 1, 2." I'm like, "What? 1, 2." I made an X.
There's steps in between that is. Oh man. Well, listen, that's going to wrap it up for snow days. Again, we talked a lot longer than I thought we would about such a topic. But hey, listen, it's the holiday season. We do say that a lot, right? We're like, we're not going to talk much about this, and then I think we probably go off on a few more tangents than we maybe plan to. But it's fine though. I think we tie them in nice and organically most of the time.
The radio thing started on topic and then went to vendetta.
I feel like I had a lot to say on that, and I haven't talked about it in a while. So
get
I had
it
to
off
get
your
out
chest.
Of my
Yeah,
I did. I had to get it off my chest again.
I just wanted to know if it was the guy that broke the window.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't him. It was somebody else.
Okay.
So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, that's snow days. And I felt like it was kind of that perfect in between, like the last episode on the show here. I had a great interview with a lovely lady, Denise, who runs a 90s nostalgia store on Etsy. So I figured that was a perfect kickoff to the holiday season for you people looking for tough to shop for, individuals in your lives. And next week is going to be our Christmas episode. And I say next week, it's going to be next week after this episode airs. It's technically going to be, it's going to air roughly 2 weeks from today, from recording. But anyway, so this was kind of a good in between where we're just talking about cold weather and snow, and it's not Christmassy, but it's also pertinent to the time of year, I would say. Yeah,
absolutely. And we're next, like you said, the next episode is just about Christmas in general. So I'll be there. I'll be excited. Yep. I'll bring my Sears catalog.
Yes, bring your Sears catalog and your ugly sweater. I think we're going to try to get Ryan on the podcast as well. Ryan was on our episode about music a while back, and I know he's very excited. He actually texted me a while back. I was like, dude, when you do your Christmas episode with Lou, I got dibs. So that's how that kind of came to be. So we're going to have a lot of fun talking all about Christmas. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the other parts of the country that did not have snow days. I promised I would do this. So Laura, if you're listening, this is for you. Shout out to the schools in Florida that would not have snow days, but would have flood days and hurricane days. Those are things I found out.
Okay.
Actually, my parents live in Florida, and my nieces go to school down there, and they would have hurricane days where they would, but that's not fun because you can't go outside and play during a hurricane day. So, not as fun. And then in Texas, they have heat days.
Oh, well,
did you know about this? If it's too hot to go outside, they close school.
Well, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
But again, you're not enjoying it. You can't go outside and play in it.
You could if
I'll
you
say
really
this,
wanted to.
If there's kids playing outside during a heat day, then those parents have failed. I'm sorry.
Well, since you're doing shout out to those, how about on the YouTube section, we found out who is the city that listens to us the most, and you just kind of hinted at it. It's in Texas.
Really?
We're a big hit in Dallas.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's our...
Well, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Home of the Dallas Cowboys. Not really. They don't play in Dallas. Did you know that? Do you know the Dallas Cowboys?
I did not know that. They play in Fort Worth.
Now everybody makes fun of my New York Jets because they play in New Jersey. Yeah, I get it. The Dallas Cowboys play in Arlington, Texas.
How far away is Arlington from Dallas?
I don't know.
I guess they should rename themselves to the Texas Cowboys.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But we're a big hit in Dallas. That's the number one city that listens to us.
Well, hey, that's great.
On the YouTube
side.
Hey,
listen. Perfect segue, Lou, because I was going to plug the YouTube channel next.
Right
Make
ahead.
sure, guys. So you may already be listening to this podcast on YouTube, which is great. Good on you. But we are also putting out exclusive content on YouTube. So deeper dives on certain topics, those of which include video game reviews. We've actually just started a wrestling retrospective on there as well for ECW. So if you're a wrestling fan and you want to hear us talk about old school ECW from the mid-90s, we're going to start putting those episodes out. We're actually in the process of producing the first few episodes now so we can get that ball rolling and keep those consistently coming out every week. And I believe, Lou, you just recently recorded a retrospective, or I don't know, would you call it a retrospective on the character of Tommy from Power Rangers?
Yes, ironically, who's from Texas also. It's all coming together. Unfortunately, we just lost Jason David Frank, who did play Tommy in the original Power Rangers, so we gave it a little bit, wanted the dust to settle on that, and me and Dan Vorbeck were going to, who's been on some recent episodes as well, mostly he did the Goosebumps episodes, correct, Dan?
Yep.
Me and Dan Vorbeck did a retrospective of Tommy Oliver and just the character, and if you're a fan of Power Rangers, you're certainly going to enjoy that. That should be releasing on YouTube relatively shortly.
Awesome. All right. Well, then stay tuned for that. Make sure, if you want to get notified of any new videos that go up, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. And the same thing for the podcast. So if you're listening here on Spotify or iTunes, make sure you're subscribed to us. We always love seeing people that are getting notified when new episodes drop, which, again, every Wednesday is when these episodes come out. At least that's always the plan, and it's happened so far pretty consistently. I think the only time I put an episode out not on a Wednesday was Halloween, because I wanted to put it out on a Halloween, which is a Monday.
All right, I'll allow it.
Other than that, it's been Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, a new episode of the Generation S podcast. And if I didn't say this at the beginning, this is a podcast all about growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. And today we talked all about snow days from our experience growing up during that time period, which, to be honest with you, from what I've seen on the comments on Facebook, not much different than how people had snow days back in the 80s and the 70s and beyond. So it's nice to see that there's some cross-generational commonalities there, if you will.
Absolutely, but the sad part is they might be going away. But if they do, just make your kids shovel on a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, there's always going to be snow to play in if you live in certain parts of the country, so just take advantage of it when you can, even if it's not during school. Enjoy it, because the snow doesn't last forever, but those memories will.
Aww.
That was nice. That was heartfelt, right? That sounded good.
That is. You should just end it right now. I'm going to end. I'm out. Goodbye.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.